is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
A single point is all Fabian Gerber needs for the GTP Championship, but Jamie Hall, on the other hand, needs to outscore his rival by 16 points to keep his hopes alive for the GTO crown. It may not be the last round, but there's a lot on the line. Thankfully, Interlagos is used to deciding championships, and today 2 more could be settled as we get ready to watch round 11 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, this is the lone South American track on the iRacing service, but if you're going to have any of the circuits from this continent, I think this one's deserving.
Joe, it certainly is, and the list of tracks in Brazil is actually long. Campo Grande, Fortaleza, of course, Londrina. There's a whole host of tracks, Salvador, and of course, today, it's all about Interlagos. Yes, here in the beautiful city of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Of course, this track, formerly known as Interlagos, which meant it was between a couple of lakes. Well, they renamed it Carlos Paz. Yes, that's where we are. Autódromo Jose Carlos Paz today, named after the Formula One driver who tragically died in a plane crash back in 1977. But Joe, the history steep at this track, been here since 1940. It's all about the 15 turns that you see here today, 2.6 miles, just a little over 4.3 kilometers. The best way, though, to get a look at what this track really encompasses is from on board another GSRC lap guide here at Interlagos.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming up to the Senna S, you've got some incredibly difficult braking. The track curves and drops away, and in the Audi, it's tough to find that sweet spot of balance. Keep tucked into both apexes, and then, when you come onto the Curva de Sol, you'll find yourself feathering the throttle. The car will want to understeer if you stay in it flat out, so it's all about judging it right and mashing that right pedal as early as it'll stick. That's because you're now flying down the Reta Aposta, which gives a prime passing opportunity into the Descida del Lago. Once again, you've got another corner where the elevation drop is going to make that apex frustratingly hard to hit. From there, turn 5 can be flat out if you hit it just perfect, but I found I often needed a small lift. And then you've got to switch sides quickly to line up for Ferradura. This double apex sweeper will test your patience because you'll be itching to get back on the gas. And even though you've got lots of paved runoff to the outside, you don't want to swing it too wide or you'll get an off track. Now you'll slam the brakes for 8, which kicks off the more technical second half of the course. Always keep in mind that these curves to the inside are fair game and give a decent amount of grip, so go ahead and get greedy by climbing all over them. The hard part is just the constant waiting to apply the throttle through these weaving hairpins. Eventually, once you've coasted through Mugello, you'll let it swing out to the right and slam the brakes for Junção. This is easily the most important corner of the track because your exit will have a lot to say about your lap time. Not only is the climb to the start-finish line the longest flat-out section of the track, but it's pretty steeply uphill. Momentum and top end make a big difference here. Expect a bit of drafting to help kick off some battles down into the first corner, but hopefully you've now finished a lap around Interlagos.
There you see a lap around the famed Interlagos circuit. Now let's take you around the points and give you an idea of exactly how this all could potentially play out today. Up at the top in the GTP standings, there you see 31 points difference. Now, remember I said 1 point. Well, that's because of the drop weeks that they have available. Fabian Gerber with 18 means that no matter what happens today, Fabian will come out with a minimum of 18 points. That comes out to 18 plus 39 equals 49 points. With 25 for a win, his rival there in second place, Ardo Maki, means that he has to win both times. Fabian Gerber cannot score a single point, or else Gerber will win on a tiebreaker. Justin Albrecht is down there, obviously, also mathematically eliminated. Same thing with all the way down to 5th. But the 3 Americans certainly are fighting hard to see who will take away 3rd place at the end of the season. That could still change. Now, for the GTP Lights, up at the top of those points is Martin Krejcik. He's used to being up high there. And Johnny Bell has been fighting him for it, but he's a long ways back. Neither of them have drop points. So Johnny is still mathematically in it, but considering it's unlikely that we'll see Johnny take a win today, but not impossible, I should say. It's unlikely that we'll see him be able to overtake Martin over these next 2 rounds. Goldagger, Kopak, and Peterson round out the GTP Light standings. Sean, what about the Audis, the 2 classes that we have over there?
Let's start with the GTO standings, Joe. Well, Dirty Torque sitting there at the top. Phil in and around the lake, in command. Pretty much has this wrapped up at this point. His teammate Jamie Hall just behind him, 25 points. Now, what isn't settled is the American, Riley Thompson there. He's fallen back a point, but Joe, just 2 points behind Jamie Hall. Of course, these drops figuring in with just 2 races left to go here in the season. Nick Bucano sitting back there in 4th. Looks to have pretty good command of that. Ove Trengerade rounding out the top 5. The Norwegian having a great season, but only good enough for 5th this season. Now let's look at the GTU standings here. Milan Arnozzi sits there on top. Andrea Albertinelli, the Italian, lurking just 13.5 points behind. That's your top 2. That's the real battle. Hideki Koivito trying to hang on to 3rd. Matthew Jette just behind. And Thomas Delmuth hanging on in 5th. So the 3rd, not settled, Joe. In fact, a very tight battle for 3rd here with 2 weeks left to go.
I was glad to see drivers with something to fight for towards the end of the race. Now, how are they going to be fighting it? Well, let's take a look at the race details. This is, as we mentioned, the penultimate round, 11 out of 12. There's 12 each season that they run. The race, though, today, if you watched last week, this is only a 40-minute race that they're doing. So there are no scheduled pit stops that you can expect out there. Drivers may still have to come in for various reasons. We'll get to that in a minute with our pit reporter. The setups are open in the cars, so they can tweak them to how they desire. And there you see the scoring that I mentioned, that 25 for win, but they're all the way down to 20th place for 1 point. And I believe only our GTO category can get that 20th position. The 15 cars, looks like actually 18 cars that we have in the GTPs means that everybody will be able to score. I mentioned we have a pit reporter with us today. Wesley Wickens joins us down there. Now, hopefully you won't be too busy, Wesley, but if you do find any cars, I understand that the pit entry and pit exit are a bit unique.
The pit entrance is a very heavy braking as you're flying into there, and it's also slightly uphill as well, so braking can be a bit of a factor. You don't want to go too fast into the pit lane, so you have to judge that very well. Also, pit exit, 3 turns realistically exiting the pit lane, which is not really seen in most tracks except from like Abu Dhabi, really, where there's actual corners when you're exiting the pits and then you fly back onto the circuit. But you don't want to make any mistakes on the pit exit, as it is also downhill just like the first chicane, so it's kind of a challenge in its own right.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that, and if we see anybody work their way in there, we'll throw to you. Sean, we talked about the championships, but we haven't talked as much about the track itself and how it seems like a track of 2 different halves to it.
It really is, Joe. I mean, let's face it. You're either really on the throttle, and I mean just nailing it, or you're really slow. Ferradura, down at La Argentina and through the duckbill, Bico de Pato and Emergulo. You're constantly turning. You're going downhill, and then you have to make that run down into Junsao, turn 12, and then get back up the hill. And that's when you get to go back on the throttle, and that's when the real racing starts, I think, is those who can master getting out of Junsao. That will be the key to this race, Joe. The race up the hill and to the finish line. That's the one we'll be watching most of the day. Again, the early part of this track, I think, especially that first turn and down the hill there in the Senna S, really gets everybody bunched up, and that's where we could see trouble off the start of this race. Not a very long pace lap today, so I have to watch that. They'll be flying down the hill there, one into turns 2 in the Senna S.
And right now we're watching Carlos Fonseca, and hopefully he gets a lap in here. He's just finishing his second one. First one did not count. He does, and actually it pops him up to 11th. So that'll be a much better start, honestly, than what he was looking at from the back of the field. Let's see if there's anybody else still waiting to put a time in. I think Reed Miller is on his second lap right now, but with 30 seconds left, looks like he is not going to be able to get a second lap in, I should say. Everybody else seems settled. So knowing that, I think with not a full pace lap to go through, it is time for us to read you our starting grid here at Interlagos. With the GTPs, it's going to be Antti Lepisto on the pole, our championship contender. All he has to do is score 1 point, and it's looking likely. I think since he simply showed up today, this means that Fabian Gerber should have won it. He'll start from second. We'll get confirmation on that later. Arto Iamaki will be P3 at the drop of the green with Justin Albrecht. Let's see what he can do here from fourth. Joni Kaisinen, P5 with Timu Toika starting at the outside of row 3 and 6. Michael Houghton, a little bit bad qualifying for him compared to what we're used to seeing. He'll be 7th. Fabian Jungbluth, P8 with Luis Emerton starting 9th, and then row 5 is completed by David Rolfe, rounding out the top 10. Pablo Suarez starts 11th, and Stephen Warkup 12th. Then it's James King with Bushfink starting in 13th, and Martin Krajcik starting 14th. Gonzalo Leon will be P15, John Keefe starting 16th, Sebastian Beaudry 17th, and Renato Roma Vieto starting in 18th position. Sean?
Joe. Jamie Hall is on the pole for the Audi GTOs. Rob Olenek will start on his outside there in second. Riley Thompson with a great qualifying effort there in third. Nick Bucanos, fourth place, qualifying there for him. Ove Trengrade will start fifth today. Phil in and around the lake, our championship leader, starting sixth. Dennis Neidhart, Danville, starting in 7th today. Franco Scurry will start 8th. 9th, going to go to Milan Arnazzi. Andrea Albertinelli will start in 10th. Carlos Fonseca, 11th for him today. Stefan Schlacker, GSRC's own Stefan Schlacker, starting in 12th. 13th for Reed Miller. Ben Laughter, 14th spot for him today. Let's see, Giorgio Buscemi, he will start 15th, 16th for Thomas Delmuth. Hideki Koivitso is starting 17th today. Taylor Burris, another GSRC zone there. Taylor Burris starting 18th, 19th. Michael Haynes. Stephen Jones starting in 20th and 21st. Joe, rounding out this 39-car field. Not on the track yet, but Jamie Besaw, the New Yorker, listed in 21st in class, 39th overall.
Well, if he's not on track, unfortunately, he's going to have to start from the pits, which won't really make too much of a difference considering he was at the tail end of the field. Now, if you want any more racing like this, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network. Not only do they have more vintage racing like this, but they have World Championship racing on the road side, on the oval side, the dirt oval, and even rallycross. So make sure to hit that big red button and catch all the action on IESN. You can see they split the starts slightly. They try to separate the two classes to make sure that they don't run over each other. And with a relatively decently sized field, I'd say that'd be wise out here because it's somewhat of a short lap, especially for these Nissans in the GTP class. As they come out of Junzhou and start their way up the hill, long climb up here. And then it'll be somewhat of a short run down to the Senna S. We'll see if everybody manages to get through there cleanly. It can be known sometimes for having issues in which drivers clatter into one another with the way it switches back and forth. And also the tricky braking where it starts to dive downhill. Here we see that pin entry that Wesley told us about a little bit earlier. The Roof Pace Car going to peel in there, and then Fabian Gerber is going to have control. Excuse me, Anti Lepisto is going to have control of the field. Green flag is out, and it's a very good jump from Lepisto. Already getting up into first place as Fabian Gerber tries to slot into second. Iamaki maybe takes a little bit of a look down to the inside as they squeeze together, some of them getting 3 wide. And it looks like they're going to manage to get through the Senna S cleanly. Let's go to the start of the Audis.
Joe, they got started before they even got to Arki Pensadas. They were on the hammer and now starting just to spread out after they all got through the Senna S's successfully. The field actually starts to go line astern. I'm a little surprised here, not fighting too hard yet. Everybody trying to get through Interlagos now, and it looks like just about all the field does cleanly there.
Well,
good move.
Not quite all of them. Gregorio Buscemi and a few others seem to have had some problems. Gregorio actually had to drive on the track backwards just so that he could get turned around, but he's going once again. We'll head over to Wes in a moment to see who all had to wind up taking a tow on that one. In the meantime, our leaders are getting ready to finish the first lap. You can see some of the back of the field working their way through the Pico de Pato, and the front of the field coming out of Junshao. That is being led by Lepisto. Gerber follows in second. Justin Albrecht, the last on the podium, but being chased closely by Iamaki.
Yeah, Joe, unfortunately, that was Ben Laughter that got caught up with Gregorio Buscemi back there. Ben's already had to take a tow.
So as they complete that, I'm not even sure if we have a replay of that incident. If we find out, we'll see if we can pull it together.
Yeah, I had totally missed
been able to pull it up. Here we go. Yeah, I missed it too. This will be my first glance to see exactly what happened. I'm going to watch what happened to Suarez here. Oh, I did not see that at the back either. Looks like he got a little bit of help.
Now we'll watch the...
What happened with Laughter.
Yeah, Laughter's going to get into it here with Gregorio. They're actually going to come together, Joe.
And this is on the straight as well. Oh, yeah, just a little miscommunication. Cars are going pretty fast.
I don't know if Ben knew he was there. I honestly, the way Ben moved on the track there, I honestly just don't know if he knew he was there.
Well, Wes, do you see anybody having to actually take a tow, or was everybody able to get around safely?
We had Pablo take a tow, number 18. He didn't even really make it into turn 1, and sadly he's had to take a tow.
Unfortunate to see Pablo Suarez have very early, and Ben Laughter as well seems to have found his way into the pit lane. But let's take a look at the battle for third here for Prototypes, because it is still Iamaki trying to fend off Albrecht. Actually, excuse me, that was Iamaki just overtaking Albrecht recently. So Iamaki working his way now up into P3. And again, he is trying to challenge for the championship here, but he has to win today and next week. Now, as that's been going on, while we were looking at the replay, I was keeping an eye on the battle for the lead in the GTO class, and Rob Olenek is fending off all comers. He's got Phil Lake, Jamie Hall, Riley Thompson, and Nick Mukanos have been climbing all over the back of him.
Yeah, well, Phil had just gotten around him, and then Rob took it right back. Didn't even get a full lap around the track at the front. Olenek is really hitting his marks today here so far early, Joe. But the battle behind him is really getting intense. We've got a couple of drivers back there moving. Dennis Neidhart moving up. Stefan Schlacker up 6 spots already, Joe.
That's Phil Lake and Jamie Hall who are fighting for that championship over there in the GTOs. Oh, and Michael Houghton's had a big problem. Oh, he must have had a huge problem. He went all the way into the barrier. You know what? I think he must have had a screen blacked out or something here, because Sean, he just keeps going.
Yeah, that doesn't look normal, Joe. Nothing about that looked normal. He obviously had a problem.
Well, he took a toe into the pits, and we are down one more, unfortunately, with another of our GTP drivers gone. That pack still being led by Anti Lepisto. Meanwhile, we're looking at the GTO pack, and this is the front of it once again. Look at that draft, Sean. Really pull them in.
Really pulling them in down there into Desierto del Lago. And Phil Lake is sitting in the cradle right now there in what we call the rocking chair. Jamie Hall just behind him taking care of his rear. Riley Thompson, a little surprised, Joe, not able to close in on them as they seem to have a little bit more speed out in the open. I'm wondering if maybe they missed a little something on that on the setup there for Riley today.
Could be. Meanwhile, looks like battle for the lead starting to erupt in the prototypes as Anti Lepisto under threat from Fabian Gerber, but Ardo Yamaki also trying to get it by his championship rival. They all try to duck down as far inside as they can go, but Fabian Gerber is the latest on the brakes around the outside of the Desierto del Lago. He gets a shove, and now instead he's going to lose a spot to Yamaki. Watch that one again. I mean, Yamaki's got to go for it today, but that was rough for the very start of the race here.
Extends the stiff arm. Get out of the way.
Excuse me, it wasn't Yamaki, it was Lepisto, I guess, that did that. As we come back live, here comes the chaos. They've already caught one of our GTO cars. That is Stephen Jones trying to let them by.
Stevie did a good job. He got out of the way, kept it out. Oh, just in front of them, Michael Haynes was just off the track. He's got to be careful getting back on here.
Straight down the front stretch, but we've had a change for the lead over in the GTO class, and it's going to be another change actually just now as Phil Lake had it for just a corner and a half, and Rob Olenek tries to get back by as he almost chops him off.
Phil tried to stick his nose in there. As you said, Rob did. Almost chopped it off on him. All right, these five now fighting hard. Nick Lucano's hanging with this field. Your top five here. Forget what I said about Riley Thompson. I think maybe he started to find his rhythm just a bit, Joe.
Oh, and on screen, look at this action happening for the second time in Desierto del Lago. Lepisto and Gerber making contact. All this fighting is allowing Yamaki to start to run away. Lepisto not giving up, looking around the outside, coming into 8, but nothing doing. And they start to weave their way through Little Orange and up to the Bico de Pato. Man, both battles for the lead are just happening at once.
Yeah, it's still going on in the GTOs as well, Joe. Very intense right now. Rob Olenek back in the lead for the moment.
Yep, he was certainly challenged by Phil Lake down to the Center S. Lake's going to try another time in the Desierto del Lago. And all of this, Hall and Thompson still giving a watchful eye from the popcorn position. Much better exit out of the Desierto del Lago for Phil Lake. But he runs out of steam as they come up to Ferradura. Takes a little bit of a peek, but not a serious one as they all stay in line. Very tight racing in these Audis.
Indeed. Whew.
Meanwhile, it sounds like Wesley's had a chance to get some information from Houghton. What exactly was the cause of that incident, Wes?
Apparently, sadly, his pedals have failed, so that's not something you ever want, especially going, about 100 and something miles an hour down that straight. You don't want your pedals to really fail on you.
Yep, and that is not something easily fixed, so I don't anticipate we'll see Houghton returning to the track today. As we ride on board now with Nick Lucano still giving chase from the tail of these top 5. Watch them stream their way towards the Senna S once again. And once again, it is Phil Lake gaining and gaining and gaining. Giving up a little bit before they get to the chicane. He's going to set himself up out of the Curva de Sol. Both cars looking about dead even as they accelerate off that long left-hander, but the draft bringing in Phil Lake. He looks down to the inside, but can't quite get it done. Ooh, way off on the exit, though, for Olenek. Poking and prodding, looking nearly every corner that he's got a chance. Phil Lake is trying his hardest to get it away from that multicolored Audi of Rob Olenek. We're not missing anything over in the GTPs. The top of them have separated for now, so this is our closest fight here with these top 5 all vying to try and take P1 in GTO. Sean?
You know, Scurry and Arnazzi are having quite a tussle back here, and it's kind of backing up Albertinelli and Fonseca right behind them. These two have been at it for about 2.5 laps. Right now, Arnazzi just getting around Scurry there.
But Scurry, if he could just get a good launch, and I'd say he does not, off of Jung Shao, looks like he's going to have to wait a bit on Arnozzi unless the draft is powerful enough to work their way around the Subidos Dos boxes and across the line. He is way too far back, so looks like Scurry's going to have to regather himself and give it another go later on. Up to the prototypes. 5th place getting a little bit hot between Kaijinen and Toika. Fat Timu not as high up as we're used to seeing him. It seems like he's not doing as well at this track as he has at others.
Yeah. Well, Timu's, it's either been roses or it's been, well, less than living vegetables. So he's not had a whole lot of luck this season, but so far, so good. Now navigating through the back of the Audi field here. Just a big traffic jam here, Joe.
Dare you say leaves on the forest floor for Timu
Yes.
Toika?
Yes, possibly so.
As they've got all kinds of... Look at how thick this traffic is for them right now. Actually, Toika is going to have a good opportunity on Kaijinen, but he can't get the power down with that turbo lag. And what looked like a good chance has slipped through his fingers. Whoa, under braking. Kaijinen trying to collect the car back together. Somehow keeps it from going out from under him. Now they stream up towards the start-finish line one more time and get clear of the majority of the traffic. It is a flock of cars as we watch them come towards us.
Boy, Joe, and Dennis Neidhart was sliding down through Senna. I'm sorry here, and Stefan Schlacker just got in the back of him, hits him hard. All happening right in front of Justin Albrecht as he was trying to get through there. And here comes Kaijinen now.
Woo, late braking for Kaijinen, but I'm not sure if that was intentional attempt to pass or more just had to do what he could with what he had. And look at this. Oh, and he gets hit by Fat Timu. Spun around, comes to a halt without hitting the wall, but he's going to have to wait a little bit to try and find himself an opening in all this traffic.
Wow.
With cars bearing down on you, you can see, wow, Taylor Burris just had to cross his fingers on the wheel and pray, because boy, that number 2 car was just right across his nose.
Wow.
Comes out the other side, but not without a scare.
Just all kinds of stuff. But Emerton just had an off.
Lepisto is off track, and he had an incident that started actually with Iamaki getting into Olenek. That was one of our GTO front runners. Lepisto trying to weave his way through. Poor Rob Olenek wasn't aware as he was coming on track that he had cars that were going to be coming by. Wow, that was a mess. Watch from Iamaki's view.
Can't believe Gerber made it through that on board with Iamaki here.
Sometimes to win championships, you need a little bit of luck, and Gerber's used up some of his right there. Oh yeah, that I kind of don't blame Rob on that one. Iamaki came from a long way back. He might not have even known that he was coming. Well, most of our drivers get going, but your new order at the top of each field, Gerber leads, Albrecht is now promoted second, and Toyka, after all of that, is in third. Now, Philip Lake leads in GTOs, Hall is in second, and Riley Thompson gets promoted to third.
Yeah, Riley Thompson sitting about almost a second and a half back from the teammates up there, Lake and Hall. And then it's a whole nother 2 seconds back to Nick Buchanan. So top three, a bit of a breakaway going on.
And I'll tell you what, one driver that we haven't really put an eye on recently, Ove Trangere. He was mid-pack qualifying, I want to say, and I think he's steadily coming forward. Qualifying didn't seem to go his way today, despite coming off a win from the Lotus 49s, but still a top 5 would be a good result.
Picked up a few spots here and it served him well. It's got a ways to go to catch Nick Buchanan. We'll just see if he can outpace him. Schlocker's is the car behind him, and Schlocker's got heavy front end damage after a couple of incidents now.
It's already pretty much a brick, that car, but look at the prototype battle that we've got going on for 8th place. In fact, I almost think you could say for 7th, because that's Luis Emerton we keep seeing glances of ahead of them, and he actually just made a big bobble coming into the Bica de Pato, and that's allowing David Rolfe to catch up to the back of him at the same time that he's trying to run away from Joni Kajanen. More traffic up ahead in the form of Riley Thompson trying to stay out of the way but still run his race. Got James King, that is for position back there, as he tries to squeeze to the inside of Thompson, just giving enough room. That Bushfink car still holding on to the back of Kajanen. Wow, they come from so far back on these GTO cars, all trying to give them space through. Absolutely harrowing.
It's only for the brave, Joe. Only for the brave.
I'd say so. You really got to know what you're doing to run this Kamel GT series. Most of these guys are veterans, but look at this. Oh. This is John Keefe and Krejcik making a little contact. That was for 11th spot. Keefe gonna come out ahead as they get by Riley Thompson now.
I gotta tell you, Joe, watching him get through the traffic has been interesting here so far. We've got a battle going on though for 8th in the GTO field. Actually, this has kind of come together now. It's Reed Miller, Bertinelli, Scurry, and Neidhart, who has dropped back after making a mistake here earlier.
And Neidhart just got into the back of Scurry there for a minute. Meanwhile, remember, we were watching David Rolfe. Well, it seems like things have gone south for him. Let's see. We've got the replay. This looks like it was in Jun Xiao. And I think this was all on him.
I think so, Joe. I don't think the turbo's kicking in there right yet. We're going to see here on board.
Yeah, that car was turning around even before he got back on the power. So the Northwest driver gets it turned back around, but he is now down in 12th, and he's got some works to make up for.
Well, he's right on the back door of our leader now. Our Audi leader gets around Phil Lake. Phil's teammates still hanging out with him.
Lake not under threat very badly from Jamie Hall, it seems, but we've seen how quickly this can all turn around, especially since they still have more of that GTP traffic. And I think we're starting to see the symptoms of this Interlagos circuit, Sean. Whoa, as Renato seems to have found the Armco coming out of Bica de Pato.
Oh, Ooh, and I think the turbo lag got him, Joe.
Yep, I'm going to see it from the onboard. Well, maybe a home track for Renato. But he's still got a few things to learn about the car, it looks like.
Ouch.
He continues on with a lot of damage. He is limping. I think he might be joining Wesley soon. Meanwhile, we've jumped back up to the battle for the lead in the GTOs. That is Hall that we're looking at, still chasing down Lake. Oh, and behind them, great battle happening for P6 in that class. That's Stefan Schlacher and Milan Arnozzi as Stefan chops him off down heading to the Senna S. He had the apex. He definitely had the ability to put his car ahead safely. Look at Milan Arnozzi gathering speed. Ooh, that was a late move.
And Stefan defends there. Ooh.
He's got himself up to 6, and he doesn't want to give it away. So he's going to get another bite. Remember, he's got all that damage on the front, Sean. That's not going to help his top end.
He kind of went a little defensive there again, Joe. Blocking off Arnozzi. Listen, hey, you want to play that game? That's fine, but you might get a little help there. Maybe get moved out of the way.
Yeah, you have to wonder how many times Milan is going to let him move over like that. Oh, as he tries to stick it up the inside, down into the duck's bill, but unfortunately, that doesn't quite work. I think this is more a matter of time. Milan looks so much faster than Stefan at this point.
It's good hard racing. Good hard racing. And again, Stefan doing this with a little bit of damage on that front end, Joe, and the arrow still working apparently. Boy.
Milan is really taking every little bit of track that he can get, but he's going to have to go the long way around once again. He has the slipstream, is a little bit of a nose ahead up into the Senna S. Can he complete the pass? That's the question. Going for the over-under, but gets balked at the apex. Oh, I thought that maybe Stefan could take that one back, but he's going to get one more chance down into the Città del Lago.
Yeah, Arnozzi going to give him a little bit of that back, Joe.
Yep, looks like not quite enough, and with the top end hurting on Schlacher, he's just going to have to settle back for a moment until he could really get a good run. As they work their way now into the technical back half of the course. We haven't looked at our prototype leader in a while, and well, that's because he's been stretching out that lead. Fabian Gerber showing once again while he's looking at another championship. 4.5 seconds back to Albrecht. Now, one driver that we haven't seen here a lot, if ever, is back in the top 5, Stephen Warkup. And he qualified in 12th. You talk about adapting and learning a car quickly. He's known for being fast in the Ferrari GT3 and the Porsche Cup. Apparently, he's fast in just about anything you stick him in. The number 4 car is looking at a top 5 and maybe more if he keeps climbing forward like this.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty solid run, Joe. He has adapted well. And really doesn't have anybody around him giving him any trouble right now. He's able to run clean and fast here. Michael Haynes getting out of the way.
Meanwhile, this battle for 3rd, trying to decide the podium. That's Ian Maki. Remember, had a little bit of contact with Rob Olenek earlier on, so he could still yet have damage. He's being chased by Fat Timu, the number 14 car. And Iamaki is feeling very under threat. He was all the way down to the inside, coming up to the Città del Lago. And I wouldn't have thought that he needed to go that far, go that defensive that early. We watch this battle. We ride on board with Timu Toika. Wes, we've had a few DNFs today. Who all has called it a day early and joined you in the pits?
Well, we have quite a few. We have Ben Laughter was out, Pablo was out, Tyler Taylor, number 36 from the Audis, is gone, sadly, only about 3 minutes ago. Rob has also gone, and we still have Renault, or is sitting in the pits with his engine on, still sitting in the car, hasn't actually left yet. I'm not sure whether he will retire soon yet. But also Lipwitz as well has gone. About 6 cars, I believe, are out.
Sad to see so many retire this early. Wow, look at the run, though, that Teemu Toika has coming down to the Senna S. The top end of Iamaki seems to be struggling. It's going to switch back to the inside for Toika, but we could still see an over-under. Look at that. Iamaki had the momentum, but not the bravery.
Yeah, he thought better of it. He was going to move it in there. He said, no, I'll wait. Coming by this battle, actually, in the Audis. It's a battle for position there.
That's for 10th. That's Neidhart and Scurry. Still duking it out for top 10 in the GTOs. A little bit of damage on the front of Neidhart, but not a severe amount. And number 19 has eyes on getting a top 10, it looks like. So Franco Scurry still sitting back there in 11th, doing all he can to pry it away. Looking back and forth to see if there's any opening. Ooh, and that's one right there. Way wide for Dennis Neidhart. And he gives it up easily.
Good job by Scurry taking advantage of that there, Joe.
Absolutely. So you're going to get a run down the front stretch. Let's see if that huge hole in the air these GTO cars cut offers an opportunity for him to get him back. Winding the cars up. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the anvil's going to need a hammer when we get done. Get some of that damage out of that.
Yeah, certainly seems to be hurting him. Let's check back up on that battle for third, because even though Iamaki has gotten past, Teemu Toika has not been able to run away. Down into Ferradura. This is where the track gets a little bit slower with each corner.
Is Iamaki riding right here? Does he have much time to ride at this point? I think he needs to get moving, doesn't he?
I suspect he's actually just using the draft, because remember, we saw when the car got to the end of the straight, he was a sitting duck. So maybe he's just kind of chilling out behind Teemu and waiting until he gets an opportunity at the end of the race.
It's really what I was starting to feel there.
Iamaki being joined by his favorite Donald Duck, as always. Yeah, just seems to be trying to use that slipstream to just try and hold with him for now.
Maybe he's hoping Teemu would pull him along and they could get up there at least next to Albrecht. Maybe make a run out of this for, the middle of the podium.
Ooh, side-by-side action between Jungbluth and Kajanen. I think Kajanen's got that done. Remember, Joni's trying to make progress back forward after some problems early on. Let's take a look at that one more time, since we only caught it halfway.
Well, Joni's been driving the wheels off it ever since he had that trouble.
He certainly has. Very clean move. Textbook, gets it done, and actually maybe a little bit of wisdom from Jungbluth to see that it wasn't worth trying to stick the car into the inside of that second apex.
And is live there. Joni had to make an evasive move to get around Schlacker, boy, and Joni went really wide.
Toika and Iamaki have swapped places once again, but critically, Sean, this is before they come up to the first corner. So let's see if Teemu's going to be able to get this back easily. Wow, look at him gain at the end of the straight.
That right front damage really crippling Arno right now.
And it's all that. Look at that, down to the inside on the second apex, and he's got it. And yeah, I was going to say that he's fine in the first half of the straightaways. It all happens at the very end.
Yeah, well, it just tops out. There's just nothing left, and Toyka's been able to expose that, and that really is what we got 10 minutes left. That does not bode well here for Ardo.
And look at how much he is weaving back and forth, hoping to try and find an opening. I guess Ardo is just thinking, I got to use any place where I'm faster than Timu at this point. Coming up with some traffic, that could help him out. In fact, those are our leaders in the GTOs. That's Hall and Lake. Sounds like the start of a folk trio. Hall, Lake, and Oates. Coming off the corner. Is he close enough to keep in that slipstream? I think Iamaki still is keeping his hopes alive.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as he could stay right at about that margin. Oh, and just behind him, Jamie Hall actually clips the wall. Coming up through Arquibanzadas.
Gotta be careful about that.
I don't know if we need to replay, but he didn't pancake it, he didn't knock it down, but he did skim it as he went by.
Well, he didn't lose much time. He's still within a second of Phil Lake. And these are the two fighting for the championship in GTO. It could be settled here today, and it's looking very, very likely that it will. Because once again, Hall needs to outscore Lake by 16 points. So even if he passes him, Lake can hang out there in second place and seal the deal. Ooh, Neidhart manages to get a pass done on Skur.
Yeah, those two have been locked together for quite a while, Joe. That has continued. Mukanos and Trengrade has turned into a battle all of a sudden. I wonder if Nick had made a mistake. At one point, Ove was, I think, about 6 or 7 seconds behind. And he, remember, Joe, you had mentioned before about his, less than stellar qualifying effort. He has continued to climb, and right now has a shot at P4.
I'm looking at the lap times in Mukanos. I don't see any major mistakes or outliers. He's been consistently in the 32s. This is all Ove just putting his foot to the floor. And I think he's going to complete the pass here. Around the outside. So they come to the braking of the Senna S. Look at how deep he is on the brakes compared to the likes of Mukanos. And just in time, too, because now they've got some GTP traffic that wants their way through.
James King will go by.
And Luis Emerton. 7 minutes left to go on the clock while the top of our GTPs have separated. It seems like elsewhere in the pack we've got great battles going on just about everywhere. Man, yeah, this traffic is a killer.
It really is.
Oh, and Lake has been caught by Hall.
Yeah, well, and the traffic coming through, Yoni Kaisen and just coming through that kind of got the battle really, really tight.
This is Jungbluth behind them, waiting patiently for an opportunity to sneak through. Does Jamie Hall force the issue? Gonna have to let, oh, what a horrible place to have to let him by. So marginal through those corners for these GTO cars. That cost him multiple tenths. Lake looking a little bit more safe as they complete that lap. Just behind them, we've got another one of our GTP cars. Gonzalo Leon able to get through without interrupting too badly, but under braking, that's the second time within a lap I've seen Phil Lake looking like he's struggling a little bit. Car is wobbling all over the place.
It's been a long race, Joe. Gotta be careful here.
And he is boxing in the car of James King, who is in a fight with Luis Emerton. That's for position. But that's for the lead. Yeah, nearly coming together with King. Oh, and this is going to open the door for Hall. He looks to the inside, down to the Bico de Pato, but can he out-accelerate him? It switches back to the left, side by side through the corner, and now up to Jun Shao. Are we going to see a drag race to the line? Jamie Hall can't quite get the power down the same as Lake. Emerton sneaks through. Bit of a slipstream offered, and the inside line to Jamie Hall. They now come up to the Senna S. Door to door once again. They get on the binders. The first apex. Oh, is both of them struggling to get the car woed up. Jamie Hall trying to use the speed around the outside of the second apex. He does it, but that's only for now because the draft picks up once again as Phil Lake looking to take the...
Gonna have to do it from the outside this time.
He's later on the brakes into the Interlagos. Can he carry the speed? He can. Oh, and just around the outside of 5. It's going to give him the inside into Ferradura. These two fighting like this is for all the marbles, but at this point, it really is going in favor of Phil Lake. This, I think, is for pride for Jamie Hall, just to prove that he can beat his teammate in a fair fight.
Riley Thompson, not even a factor in this, Joe.
He will be if they keep fighting like this.
Well, if they get tangled up, he certainly will be. We remember last week how lucky Riley got with his big finish there.
Absolutely so. As they come back onto the main straight, Jamie Hall within the slipstream once again. Clearly, even though he knows that he might still lose this to Phil Lake, even if he beats him on track, he's going to do all he can. Wow, as he tries to get the car in there. They are both on the edge in these machines, barely controlling them. As all this has happened, we haven't had any chance to even mention, let alone show the replay of something that happened to Franco Scurry. I'm not even sure what happened. I think he had an incident. They've got a little bit of action behind them. David Roth trying to sneak through.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, he's doing the smart thing here. It looks like he's just going to wait until he's got a really clear bit of track. He's not fighting anybody right now.
Well, this is, remember in the pre-race, we were talking about the slow parts of this track. Unfortunately, this is where David's got to be patient. Not much he can do here.
Well, he's 13 seconds ahead of the next car, 14 behind the car ahead, so he can have plenty of patience right now, and actually credit to David.
Yeah.
This is just incredible patience and awareness of the situation. Now he's going to be able to get through. But it's going to be tight. Oh, no. Almost making contact with Phil Lake. That slows him up, but it also boxes in Jamie Hall.
He's getting in the draft.
Jamie Hall using that little bit of advantage that he can get from the GTP car, going by their side by side through the Senna S once again. And into the curva to Sol. Jamie Hall just can't quite carry the speed the same way that Phil Lake can around the outside. Is he going to cover him off down into the Interlagos? They've only got a minute left. The time is running out. He gives the inside to Jamie Hall, sticks his nose in. Can he complete the pass, though? That is the question. Holding the long way around. Phil Lake trying to deny him. They can now come up to Ferradura. And finally, he fends him off once more. Jamie Hall takes a little bit of a peek down into turn 8. Still side by side. Neither of these drivers willing to give up. A mistake from Hall does it.
Just a small one there, Joe. A small one. They should make it back to the line for the white flag here.
They will. The white flag is waving when they go by. because Fabian Gerber still has multiple corners to go. Wow, that number 9 is all sorts of loose.
He got out in the turf there for a moment, Joe.
Coming up the front stretch. We'll hold on this until they get to the first corner to wait to see what happens. Once that happens, though, we need to go to Fabian Gerber as they break for the corner. Looking a little bit more tame than they usually do. No, they are not. Still another look there from Hall. And as that happens, Fabian Gerber is going to take the championship in style with a win here at Interlagos. The DH driver takes the win. Meanwhile, action still happening. Stefan Schlacker has an off at the very end of the race. As the leader of that class, Phil Lake, finding his battle with his teammate interrupted by John Keefe. Hall got disadvantaged, but it helped him on the way into Ferradura. Sean, this one is not over yet.
Not yet, Joe. Not yet at all. Jamie Hall back here digging just as hard as he can.
Through the Little Orange, now up to the Bico de Pato. These corners just about setting the car up. Let's see if he could get himself the launch off of the junction through Mogurlo. He's close, but I don't know if he is quite close enough.
So, Joe,
this
he
is
needed
it.
a monster run there.
The championship has been decided. It goes to Phil Lake, but what about today's race? Jamie Hall gaining on him, but I don't think he's gaining quick enough. Phil Lake is going to be your winner here in round 11 of the Kamel GT Series.
What? All credit to Jamie Hall. He sure tried, didn't he? And Riley Thompson with a really quiet third-place finish.
Absolutely. Now, Wes had been watching the monitors. Wes, you noticed an accident between Dennis and Stefan. What happened there?
It was under braking. It was just as they were both fighting for laps and laps. On the last lap, under braking, slight tap. Dennis slightly tapped Stefan's rear, and it just sent them both into the wall. Both got back going, but I think it swapped around positions and they lost position to other people. But the slightest tap put them both into the wall.
Yep, we're watching the replay here. The number 19 behind. There's the touch. Looked like a little net coat as well, and they just clatter into the tires. Thankfully, both able to keep going. Let's watch one more time from on board the number 19. Yep, that looked a little bit like a racing incident to me. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. That was a fantastic finish to the not to the season, but to the championship. We'll bring you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And stick around because on screen, we're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Interlagos. We just watched the finish of round 11 with both championships being awarded. We'll go over that in a second. And of course, here in the Kamel GT series, no surprise here as Fabian Gerber takes another win. But he definitely had to work for this one at the start. After that, he stretched away. Justin Albrecht finishes second, nicely from fourth. And how about Timo Toika from sixth to third? It's a good climb for him. Ardo Iamaki, a few problems throughout the race meant that he'll have to settle for fourth and give up the championship to Gerber, who unofficially is your champion this season. Stephen Warkup adapted from the Porsche Cup and the Ferrari GT3 to go from 12th to 5th. How about that? Fabian Jungbluth finishing sixth today with Joni Kaisen in seventh. James King, a nice climb for him as well. He started 13th, finished 8th. Louis Semerton takes 9th with David Rolfe in 10th and Martin Krejcik in 11th. And it's John Key finishing P12 and Sebastian Beaudry in 13th. One lap down, the only of our GTPs to finish a lap down is Gonzalo Leon finishing in 14th. Sean?
All right, Joe. And the unofficial champion wins this race. Phil, in and around the lake. It was a great run for him. He battled his teammate Jamie Hull exclusively for most of this race. And Jamie has a great run, finishing second. Riley Thompson, big day for him. Decent qualifying effort and a good solid run throughout gets him there on the end of the podium. Ove Trendgrade with a good run. He picked up several spots to get to fourth, followed by Nick Buchanos. Those two got very racy there in the end of the race. And sixth going to go to Milan Arnozzi, who also picked up many spots himself. He drove hard throughout. In his purple Audi GTO, finished sixth. Seventh going to go to the Canadian Reed Miller. Carlos Fonseca will finish in eighth today. Hideki Koivito did a great job of working up through the field there, Joe. He was on the hammer, buddy, and he gets a ninth place finish because of it. Dennis, the Anvil, Neidhart, 10th place run for him today. Franco Skirty, 11th. 12th going to go to Thomas Delmuth. Andrea Albertinelli will finish 13th today. 14th going to go to Gregorio Buscemi, who had trouble early. Joe, Stefan Schlacher is going to wind up with a 15th place finish. Michael Haynes, 16th today. Stephen Jones, 17th, and then we got a couple of cars mixed in here. Renato is going to finish in 15th in the Nissans, 32nd overall. Antti Lapisto, tough day for Antti, 16th place run for him. Rob Olenek, back to the Audi GTOs, will finish 18th in his class. Taylor Burris with a tough run today. He'll finish 19th and 17th in the Nissans for Mike Houghton, another driver having a tough day due to some hardware failure. Ben Laughter, unfortunate early contact for him, ends in a 20th place day. Pablo Rivera Suarez, 18th today, finishing out the Nissan field. And Jamie Besaw, poor Jamie never even got started today, Joe. So there you go, 38, took a run at it. And, well, most of them had a pretty good day, but we've got a few that want to talk to us.
Absolutely. One to talk to us that I'm sure is pretty happy is Fabian Gerber, who, by our calculations, is unofficially the champion this season. Fabian, how does it feel?
Am I? I didn't know that. Thank you very much. I'm in the VCR. Yes, that could be. I don't think I'm in the official iRacing championship. I was behind yesterday, second, and I think now I'm first again, but I'm not really sure. I guess this one will be decided next week. But I'm really happy to win the VCR. That is great news. Thank you very much.
I'd say you earned it this season. You showed some great speed, some great consistency. This race in particular, a lot of action was happening around you, and you seem to avoid most of it.
Yes, I managed this time to avoid most of it. Yes, I guess I was a bit lucky in the accident in lap 10, where Arto and Rob touched, I think. I just could go around the outside and was okay to go through, and that was it. Otherwise, everything was well. I was worried about fuel all the race. That was more concern for me. But otherwise, it went really well for me today, yes.
Well, For VCR this season, you managed to defeat Iamaki, of course, with him looking like he'll be second in the points. Who do you consider the greatest threat usually on track when you fight, not just for race wins, but for championships overall?
For championship, definitely Arto and Antti. Those two are the biggest competitors, I would say.
I could totally see that with the speed that they show from week to week. Well, congratulations both on the win and the championship, and best of luck next week at Daytona.
Thank you very much. I'll have a glass of champagne tonight for this.
I'm sure he'll enjoy that. That was Fabian Gerber, our winner here today. Up next, also a winner and champion, Sean, has caught up to Phil Lake.
Phil, in and around the lake, unofficially the champion and officially the winner and officially number one in our hearts. Phil, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
Hey, your teammate was giving you the business there at the end, though.
Yeah, what an awesome race to seal the championship with Jamie as well. Yeah, that was a crazy fight. I didn't even realize it was the white flag. I was just concentrating so much on where he was and defending and everything else. So it was a great race.
Okay. There are probably people watching this for the first time wondering, okay, what's iRacing? I don't understand this racing thing. I'm confused. Talk about that for a second. When you really get in a zone like that, you're not paying attention to anything, are you? You're not looking at gauges. You're not looking at telemetry, anything. You're really just eyes over the wheel, right?
Yeah. I was totally focused on hitting my marks and keeping Jamie behind. I could have kept going until we ran out of fuel, and I wouldn't have realized the race was over. It was those are the races that you want to have every week.
Yeah, and unfortunately you don't get those every week, do you?
Not all the time, but more often than not in Kamel.
Well, it's been a great season, and you've put in the work, and you certainly deserve to be congratulated. But we'll save the big party for next week. We'll let those Nissan guys go have their champagne this evening. We'll wait till next week, and then we'll open the maybe the scotch, maybe the brandy. I don't know, whatever you choose there, Phil.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Congratulations again to Phil. And around the lake, we'll see him next week. And Joe, I think that's a championship well done for him.
Absolutely. Driver who does get a little bit of podium champagne as well is Teemu Toika, who finished third today. It wasn't a straightforward race for you, though, Teemu. Talk to us a little bit about the incident where you and I believe it was Kaijinen came together. From your perspective, what happened?
Yeah, that was totally my fault. I just watched the replay, and you can see that Justin had a little bit of like a communication breakdown with the one of the Audis, and he had to lift and brake, and I had no idea because I was right on Kajanen's tail, and I went to move to the left, and I see that there's an Audi there. So I decided to go right. There's still room for me, but Kajanen has lifted off, but I don't know that. So I just plow into him before I can realize anything.
Yeah, it seemed like just a lot happening at once to try and keep track of. Now, later on, we saw you in a battle with Iamaki. We knew he had damage, but we failed to mention that you had that coming together. Did you manage to escape unscathed? Because it certainly seemed like when it came to the end of the straightaways, you were much faster than Ardo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The car didn't feel any different after the incident, but I was having a lot of understeer, and yeah, I think he had some aerodynamic damage, and that's why I was able to pull away from him on the main straight and between turns 3 and 4. But yeah, he dominated me everywhere else.
Certainly had to be a little bit nerve-wracking watching him close in. Now, next week we're going to a bit of an unusual one for you guys. It's Daytona, but the moto layout. Have you run that yet in any car before?
That's gonna be a no from me. I've never driven. I had a look a few weeks ago to see what the layout was like, and I have to say I'm intrigued. I have to say, it skips the most boring part for sure. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll certainly make it a little bit more of a technical track. But congratulations on a third today, and hope to see you in a week's time for the finale.
Yep, thank you.
That was Teemu Toika, third place here. Finally, we have Riley Thompson, another third place finisher. Sean has caught up with him.
I feel like I just talked to him, Joe. Hey, Riley, congratulations. I said at the end that was about as quiet a run as we've seen you have. It was pretty peaceful, wasn't it?
Yeah, in general, besides the crazy traffic from the Nissans in the infield, it was definitely a quiet race for me.
Well, it was a good one. You've been consistent all season. I think maybe if you'd have been able to pick up another win or two, you might have been battling for the championship. Talk about what kind of changes you made to be so much better this season than you were last season.
I think just when it comes to these cars, it's just a series of clicks, I like to say. And so I think I just finally got another click in the car, learned more about it. And then I've also been trying new kinds of setups, especially from Phil. So I think that's definitely helped me out in the long run this season.
Can't hurt, right? Especially when he's wrapping up a championship here. Well, listen, hey, always fun watching you get around the track in the Audi. You plan to stay with the Audi, or you think you might stretch out into the Nissan at some point?
I think with all this success that I'm finding this season, I'm definitely going to be staying in the Audi for season 1.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Riley. Hey, listen, buddy, congratulations. Hope to see you on the podium again next week.
10-4.
All right, Joe, that's Riley Thompson, the Mid-South driver. He put it on him today. A good run there in third for him, and certainly a great season here in the points for Riley.
Yeah, it's been a great season, but we've got one more to go. And before that, we have to close up today on what was, I think, a very entertaining race here in Kamel GT. Thanks to the Kamel GT community, actually, while we're here, because they're the ones that keep coming back to GSRC and say, broadcast this for another season. We say, please, because we love calling these races with all the crazy action that we get to see. And also, thank you to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network with Kamel GT. If you want to see more of this, make sure and subscribe so that you can see us every week, as well as all the other races that you can see by all of our friends at the many other channels that broadcast here on IESN. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, Dougie, and Wesley. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also see us on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you head on over to GSRC's YouTube page, we also have a subscribe button that we would love to have you hit so that you also see all of our races. The next race for this series, we mentioned in a week's time, we're going to Daytona, but to the moto layout. So that'll be a little bit different if you're used to seeing these guys race at Daytona. That'll be Saturday, December 1st at noon Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.